Good morning and welcome to the JMM Sydney Opera House virtual event. This webinar will feature presentations from ASX listed companies offering fresh insights into emerging projects, strategic plans for growth, and exciting investment opportunities. Without further ado, let's get started. First up, we have Lode Resources, ASX code LDR, who is advancing high-grade silver and antimony projects in Tasmania and New South Wales, both critical minerals for renewable energy manufacturing. Presenting for the company today is Non-Executive Director Jason Beckton. Jason, over to you.
Thank you, Abby. Just let me share, and thanks for Jane Morgan Management for having us on. Just let me share the presentation. Okay, so thank you for coming in. We've got some exciting news. There's been also recent news flow with the appointment of a director in the annual report, so let's get into it. Importantly, breakthrough numbers in New South Wales at Magwood, which we'll talk about, and Montezuma ongoing numbers, which the market's become accustomed to in the past few quarters. There's usual disclaimer. We'll be reasonably rapid. I'll take the team as read. The important point here I highlighted with the asterisks here is because of the advanced nature of the projects, we are delighted to add Simon Milroy, an experienced commercial engineer, which is a rare entity, having run companies and built mines, to advise a reasonably geo-heavy board, as well as the corporate acumen we have in Andrew Van Heist. All right, moving on. So strong shareholder base. There has been some adjustment in the share price in the last few days, along with the air bubble the rest of the market is facing, but it's quite a robust balance sheet. Again, overseen by great Sydney management, who importantly, and this is what I look for in my personal account, and of course, importantly, Andrew and Ted, board members, hold a controlling stake of the company, effectively very tightly held, and just keep putting more money in. So look for further news on that front in the future, but a robust balance sheet for a junior. Quickly on the product that we're putting together, which is antimony and precious metals. We'll talk about antimony in a limited way. There certainly is an export control in place by the People's Republic of China, given that they need every kilogram of antimony metal they produce for their own industry. So their restriction is, in fact, in my view, understandable, and it's going to be ongoing. And so it's up to the West to start producing as well, and hence the market reaction. We've seen some valuations in companies, particularly close to us in Armidale, with Lode being taken over by United States Antimony Company recently, or proposed to be. And you look for more corporate activity and consolidation as the industry grows in the West. What we've got is a fairly wordy overview. Just focus on the numbers if you can. The key thing is here, what you want is over 1% antimony and over 200 grams per tonne silver, and we regularly exceed that with both projects, both in Tasmania. I should say not so regularly, but recently in New South Wales at Magwood. So there's a two-pronged breakthrough here. There's also in the background, shareholders should have benefited from a sale of a non-core silver asset recently, which has an effective addition of 8 million to the balance sheet. We'll talk about that. So main project is in the jewellery box that is the west coast of Tasmania, where I worked 30 years ago underground at Henty and did my master's. This area is absolutely one of the best areas to develop a project once you get onto it. Main takeaway point here is on the third point down, if you like, is the fact that we're on a granted mining lease for Montezuma. We are putting together a dominant land position, just because I'm going to get through a few slides here, to the north and south, and Montezuma on the right. You can see the blue box pointing to that. Strike length north and south, and the field activities led by Ted Leschke has generated some exciting developments there recently. One takeaway from this slide is the Granville production facility that we have under control as well on the west coast. So there is a full commercial loop here, if you like, and it can go all the way to production. The highlights, and I won't go through this verbatim, check at your leisure, but the highlights here is, as I said, high grade at surface, granted mining lease, and a mill that can be refurbished, of course, subject to studies. But also, we've been drilling continuously, including throughout the West Coast Tasmanian winter, and coming up with really strong, consistent results that will continue. So news flow is going to be, if you like, just continually punchy out of this Tasmanian high-grade antimony project. And again, lots of information on the slide, but again, look for the numbers exceeding 1% on the antimony and well and truly above 200 grams per tonne on the silver. Like projects I've been involved with in the past in silver in Mexico generate $1 billion outcomes if you can put together the tonnage and the grade. And with silver over 200, we're going to exceed that in my view in future resource estimates, and the same applies for the antimony, well in excess of 1% clearly. Development phase sampling being sent for metallurgical sampling as well, so we're de-risking that side of things with some advanced work soon to be reported on out of Tasmania. So this is what you want to see is continual drilling, continual hits. So very carefully, we drilled from the known to the unknown, high-grade surface, keep stepping out. Generally, you want above 5 meters thickness and above, call it 5-10 grams equivalent. And really, we don't have much gold, but we have definitely a silver equivalent in excess of 200 over and again. And so what impresses me with this is to the north and south, it remains open. The south, particularly thick zones we've been hitting lately at Montezuma. And I think eventually we'll have a couple of rigs on this site continuously, just growing it out. And in the interim, at some point, pushing out exploration targets / inferred resources, because as you can see with the next slide, plenty of data. Again, we provide all the information in 3D, so people can right now do their own 3D estimates if they feel they need to. The modelling is fairly robust, and I would add we have one of Australia's best resource geologists designing the drilling and in fact logging the drilling, in Tim Callaghan, who I worked with at Henty 30 years ago. And what we're seeing importantly is picked up on an internal grade between two parent features, so much thicker zone than we anticipated. There'll be a moderate grade mid zone between the two parent high grade structures, so not just narrow tons high grade, but this is going to have an unusual grade tonnage outcome. And we'll keep moving, get geochemical results, which are important. There's a drill plan in long section. We stepping out at the correct spacing, in my view, without wasting shareholders' funds. And this was highlighted a few weeks ago. The guys in the field, including Armidale team members, finding more high grade material to the north and south at Tasmanian projects at Flore. These projects have been known about but not mapped or sampled, unbelievably, given the mature nature of the belt in the West Coast, but it is reasonably accessible terrain, and there is, as you can see from the LiDAR there, you can see old tracks. We can get to it and clean these tracks up. Fantastic silver and antimony grades again. So it's working out to be a belt rather than just one feature. I alluded to earlier, met test work, all going correctly as you'd expect with a high sulfide zone, but the metallurgists are not providing us with any red flags, which is good news. The leach test work, I'm not a metallurgist, but basically this is pretty good to me. 90% of the material recovers reasonably quickly. And, as I alluded to earlier, bulk tonnage is the main game here. We'll be cutting it up in plan view at next, which is what the planning engineers like to see, and just keep the rig running with the necessary growth in number of rigs probably in the future. So it all points towards the same outcome as we sold for Webb's Consol Silver project in the north recently, is de-risk the project as quickly as you can and don't warehouse results, push out as quickly as we can resource estimates to provide transparency. New South Wales, importantly, was for a while the poor cousin, but because we managed to put together a resource estimate earlier this year and authored by myself, signed off by myself, but really put together by other experts, including Levings and Callaghan. And the good officers of Sydney again managed to do a deal, and to the mutual benefit of Rapid Critical Metals, and we will await their AGM to finalise this transaction. But effectively, it's about $8 million worth total on the balance sheet, shares and cash. So a good outcome for our shareholders, but also for RCM as they consolidate silver projects in the north. We'll talk about Magwood briefly, east of Armidale, high grade antimony, just like Tasmania, old workings, high grade, undrilled. And just like Tasmania, but unlike Tasmania, there's a nearby mine that's been sold recently or proposed to be purchased from the ASX for $700 million. We believe we have potential to be similar dimensions for that project and grade. So you can see here, we do take into account the geometry of our project versus the project I mentioned that's been sold. We can see this is our wheelhouse, brownfield drill outs. And geometrically, quite a bit of a sitting duck. We just need to drill more at depth and along strike. Some gold prospectivity as well, which has been an interesting development recently. As you saw with the Tasmanian effort, this New South Wales effort is basically get the information in 3D and start growing it, slam into the old workings where we know there'll be some high grades, albeit some of it not in situ. As you can see with the third dot point, with, again, grades well in excess of 1% antimony and some significant widths. That's all from me, Abby. I mean, the news flow will be from the dual projects, as I mentioned, mainly Tasmania, but New South Wales is also punching above its weight, and also look for us pushing through the gates of resource, as we saw that was very beneficial for shareholders when we did that for Webb's Console. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Jason. Sorry, we do have some time for some questions if you have a moment.
Sure, of course.
Lovely. So firstly, at Montezuma, you've reported some standout silver and antimony grades, including intervals of over 1,000 grams per tonne of silver. How important are these results in showing the scale and growth potential of the project?
Well, you want to see grades, if you like, what we call grams, meters accumulation. So it's fine having high grade, but you also want decent widths. And so what we see, importantly, is preponderance of intercepts above what we call 100 gram meters silver or silver equivalent. There's 51 intercepts, or 82% of the intercepts are over that number. That's fine. But what sort of took me aback a little bit as a resource geo was about 45%. And, I'm looking at the numbers that are above 500 silver equivalent gram meters. That's very unusual. We didn't see much of that until we're in the main zones at Palmarejo in Mexico. So really, yes, the antimony is a headline, but this is definitely a silver deposit with heaps of antimony driving it as well. Economically, we're still figuring out which one's number one. So yeah, the grade is helping us for sure.
And then, Jason, looking ahead, what are the key milestones investors could keep an eye out for over the next few months across Montezuma, Magwood, and the rest of the portfolio?
Well, it's probably be packaged in between three things. One is drill intercepts, which is always a leading driver of value in these entities, but metallurgy actually is due for certainly Tasmania. Some more input from our recently appointed director and Simon and the engineering side of things, perhaps. Also, though, some more, if you like, extensional work in Tasmania. Magwood, we're designing phase 2 at the moment. We just finished phase 1 drilling. So New South Wales, importantly, will compete. So yeah, thick news flow basically, and high grade.
Jason, that is all we have time for today. Thank you very much for your presentation, and we'll be keeping a close eye on Lode's progress.